quote that Shawn said that describes him perfectly. He said, if you comfortable, I'm uncomfortable. So my job is to make you uncomfortable so I could be comfortable. So you could just imagine it's hard to keep up the pace with Errol because he's always like 10 steps ahead of you. Errol did say that the fight with Crawford, they're going to go in the ring and try to kill each other. So you know what mindset Errol Spence have when it comes to Crawford, because skill recognizes skills. Yeah. I got Crawford pound for pound number 1. I got Errol Spence pound for pound number 2. So this is number 1, number 2, not just in a division, but in boxing, period. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered from how Crawford is going to be able to handle a southpaw like Errol, because he's always effective with his southpaw position. But nevertheless, Errol Spence still need a tune-up, in my humble opinion, another tune-up to be back 100%, since he didn't look like 100% tonight. In the meantime, Crawford could fight a name opponent like everybody want him to do. You know, he could take care of his mandatory Shawn.
Yeah, I think you should just get Shawn Porter out the way, like you said. Just go, because I feel like Shawn Porter is going to activate that, whether he likes it or not. Like, I think he's waiting to see if he can get a Spence rematch. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I mean, I don't see why Spence would do it right now. Maybe later in career.
Andre Ward said
just giving him a rematch right away.
Right. Andre Ward said Shawn is a throwback fighter. He wins some, he lose some, but he want all the smoke. He ducks no one. So he obviously talking about what Shawn said after the fight, in which Shawn supposedly he want Crawford. That's his main objective, on top of an Errol Spence rematch. So with the Errol Spence fight, we know Errol Spence beat both Danny Garcia and Shawn, who fought each other for that title. There's no point right now for us to see Shawn rematch with Errol Spence. I think stylistically, I would love to see Terence Crawford versus Shawn Porter. You know, Shawn, he got a frustrating style. You know, all that feinting. And,
he's kind of like aggressive, kind of unorthodox, kind of like.
And he used his body.
He's like, definitely not as downhill as Errol Spence, but he's definitely kind of, you know.
Yeah, he uses his body. He uses his physical attributes. Yeah. He push you off in the inside, make it ugly, make it uncomfortable. A quote that Shawn said that it describes him perfectly. He said, if you comfortable, I'm uncomfortable. So my job is to make you uncomfortable so I could be comfortable. So you could just imagine what he does in the ring. It ain't going to be a clean fight. He's going to hold you with one arm, hit you with another. And it ain't just holding. He's holding and pushing. Now you got to be physically strong.
Yeah, he likes to play that mental game with you. Like, what gets on your nerves, I'm going to try to find that and exploit it.
That's what I'm saying. Errol Spence managed to beat him at his own game. I think Terence wouldn't make the mistake of fighting Shawn Porter at his own game. Terence Crawford will be wise to box. I think stylistically, outside of Errol Spence, I think Shawn Porter will give Crawford his toughest fight because of the style Shawn Porter brings to the table. However, with Crawford, you just never know, man. I mean, something about Crawford, every time he steps into the ring, he approaches every fight differently. And the way he fights, the way he solves the puzzle.
Yeah, he's like a chameleon or like a unicorn.
Yeah, he turns southpaw, goes Super Saiyan, and land a punch that you don't see coming. Like I said, all his fights at 147, they've been all stoppage. You know, he's supposedly a boxer, but he truly a
that's what the thing. People like try to punish him for it too, because it's like he doesn't really like a lot of his fights. He kind of dominates, so people just like, oh, he never fights anybody. But like at the time, some of these fighters were like really good opponents and people thought they were going to do good. He just embarrasses them. And then afterwards, it's like, oh, he hasn't fought anybody. His resume is trash.
Yeah, the Kell
Brook. Like, now he adapts real well. Like, he just hasn't fought a level of a Spence that like maybe he won't be able to adapt. But I think personally, he could still stick to what he does. Like the first 2 rounds, come out and try to see. Obviously, you got to protect himself a little more because that jab, you know, he was having I wouldn't say a real problem, but a slight problem with Kell Brook's jab. And if he had that same type of problem with Spence jab, it's going to turn out worse. So I think he'll get better at that.
Right, but especially from a southpaw. Yeah, especially from a southpaw.
Yeah,
you know, that's why I said that fight will be super interesting. But see, that's the thing about Crawford. You just don't know what you're going to get with him. So maybe Shawn Porter fight is going to be a close fight. Maybe not, because something about Crawford, if he fight his fight with his speed and power, he is not somebody you could bully around. A lot of people think Shawn is just going to bully him. Remember, Jeff Horn bullied the shit out of Manny Pacquiao. Excuse my language. But he was bullying Pacquiao from pillar to post. That fight was not close because Pacquiao wasn't ready. It was just Pacquiao was just like, damn, man, this man, he making it ugly. But when Jeff Horn tried to do the same thing to Crawford, you saw Crawford, he used that against Jeff Horn. He started catching him with blows. He's physically stronger than what a lot of people think. He's physically strong. So I don't think Shawn Porter is going to just bully him around. I think it's going to be a fight for sure. If Shawn could take Crawford punches, I mean, obviously Shawn, he could take a punch, but Crawford will catch you with that punch you don't see. That's usually the punch that will hurt you the most. So you never know. That's why we want to see the fight.
It's always like a random kind of.
Right, right.
It's never something you can predict with Crawford. That's the thing. Like, people try to like set up these scenarios of like why he will or won't do something, but it's like you can't really rank him. But I mean, you can rank him at 1, but you can't really predict what he's gonna do because, like you said, he adapts. He'll switch back and forth. He'll, you know, sometimes he throws a jab a lot, sometimes he throws hooks a lot.
Yeah, supposedly he don't even have a game plan. He just go in the ring and figure you out and make adjustments. And that's
what they say. I mean, I think he has game plans. He just doesn't, like, he'll save it in his back pocket. They do say that. I've heard that though. I've heard he said, well, he just goes in there. Like, obviously he probably prepares, but yeah. I don't know. I mean,
I think the way that works,
I find it hard to believe that he don't have nothing to definitely save the plan.
Yeah, I don't think he goes into the fight and like, man, I don't got no game plan at all. I think he just works on everything. He just work on moving around, applying pressure, and whatever worked best, that's what he does. I think that's how he approached every fight.
But probably like, if I need this, he has probably plan B, plan C, but he probably never gets to it a lot of the time.
Right, right. So that's what I'm saying. Like Andre Ward, for example, he was one of them special fighters that every time he fought an opponent, he would fight him differently. People thought he was going to box Froch, and he bullied Froch when Froch kept telling him, you're not going to fight me. You ain't going to back me up. And Andre Ward, he proved a point to Froch. He wanted to prove a point personally to Froch, right? And that's how Andre Ward approached a lot of fights in his career. Like, he would always fight differently, and you'd be like, damn, I don't even know what to expect with Andre Ward. Crawford have that same thing. You really don't know what to expect from Crawford because, see, with Errol, you know what to expect. You know, he's going to box smart and he's going to apply pressure, so you could prepare for him more than you could prepare for a Crawford. I'm not saying he's easier to beat, but I'm just saying you at least know what he's going to do. You know what I mean?
That's what I was trying to say. I just didn't. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. He finished like what I was trying to get at, but basically the same thing. Like he's more unpredictable than Spence. Like, even though Spence's game plan works 99% of the time. Yeah. 100% really, but that's basically the same thing I was trying to say. Like, we don't know. Like, people keep creating these scenarios of why, like, oh, he's not ready or he is ready. But
Right. Errol's like a Mike Tyson. You know how Mike, he gonna come forward and bully you. Not to the extent, because Errol Spence got different gears to him. He could box too. He could move around. He showed that against Mikey, and even tonight. But his P's and Q's is applying pressure, putting you on the rope, dominating you in the inside. That's just what he does best. You could at least, somewhat know how to prepare for a fight. But yeah, Crawford, I mean, you over here, what you gonna prepare for? A southpaw or orthodox? You know what I mean? Like,
it's like you don't even know what stance you gonna be in.
You know what I'm saying? That shit, man. You know how frustrating that is. What you gonna do? Spar people that's gonna fight on the front foot, on the back foot. So Keith, Porter, when they had titles, they never mentioned my name. Even Porter. Porter. Man, I never heard Porter say anything about Crawford. And until he lost to Errol Spence, now he really aggressively calling out Terence. Because now
his best friend.
Yeah, it's an opportunity. That's what I'm saying. It's an opportunity. So I can't criticize Crawford,
but it's opportunity
for the things.
Crawford too. That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It still could happen. That's what I'm saying. Shawn could still make it happen by activating his mandatory position.
When Bomac was saying as a manager that he shouldn't fight Porter because Porter don't got no belt,
right. Well, I already
and it's not gonna prove nothing if he beat him.
Right. So I interviewed Crawford, one of his team, and he told me that if Shawn Porter pressed the issue and he activate the mandatory position, Crawford will fight him. Because, see, it's all fun and games. Shawn Porter could talk the talk, but he's a mandatory now. He don't got to ask for the fight. He don't got to beg for the fight. All he got to do is activate the mandatory position because Terence Crawford mandatory is due soon. So if Shawn Porter does activate his mandatory position, he will get the fight. So, you best believe this, Terence Crawford will not vacate the WBO belt. He ain't on no Canelo shit. He ain't on no Lomachenko stuff.
I wouldn't believe that.
Yeah, he would not vacate the belt. So he will fight Shawn if Shawn press the issue and activate the mandatory position.
You know, Shawn, now, like you said, it's all fun and games, but after the fight, in the post-fight, when Shawn Porter was talking, he was saying he wants the Terence Crawford fight.
That's what I'm talking
more than
about.
He wants the Errol Spence fight.
Okay, well, thank you for
I'm hoping
informing
that,
me on
to
that.
your point, he activates the mandatory. Yeah.
And there's nothing stopping him. There's nothing stopping him but himself, because he could activate his mandatory position and get the fight. And I could guarantee you he will get the fight if he does activate the mandatory position, right? So that's not an issue when it comes to that.
Hold it. You're not that pretty. I'm a bad man. Wait. I still got the wall. I got the wall.
I bear witness, there's only one God, Allah, and Muhammad is his final messenger. That's what I said, Larry, on the Bungle fight. Thanking you.
They call me the problem, but you could call me the can man, because anybody can get it. Africans, Americans, Dominicans, Mexicans, anybody can get it.